Welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast, where we talk with the people behind the current events and breakthroughs in brain implants in an understandable way, helping bring together various fields involved in neuroprosthetics. Here is your host, Ladan.
Welcome to another Toronto Rehab Week 2019 Spotlight interview presented by IFESS, the International Functional Electrical Stimulation Society. Thanks to them for sponsoring these episodes.
We're sitting here with Debbie Backus. Debbie is with the Shepherd Center, which is a rehabilitation hospital in Atlanta, but she's also the president of ACRM. So, Debbie, can you just give us a little idea of both organizations you work with and what your focus area is?
Sure. Actually, and it's nice because they both have the same mission. The mission is to actually help the people that we serve, people with disability, live full, healthy quality of life. Shepherd Center is one of the largest spinal cord injury centers in the world. We also see people with brain injury, and we also have an MS Institute. And we see people along the full continuum of care, from acute right after they're injured, all the way across their life. We offer inpatient services, traditional post-acute services, and also non-traditional kind of activity-based programs for people with spinal cord injury and brain injury. And in our MS Institute, we embrace the rehab approach. We have a neurology practice, but we embrace the rehab approach around that practice to facilitate function and health and wellness. And then ACRM is a multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary organization that the whole mission is to improve the lives of people with disability. And so that includes researchers from all sorts of disciplines, clinical research, neuroscience, and engineering. It includes clinicians from across all, so allied health like PT, OT, speech, but also neuropsychologists and physiatrists and anybody who has anything to do with rehab, and then across all diagnostic groups. ACRM started with brain injury, and spinal cord injury became a special interest group. We grew our population of people interested in serving people with spinal cord injury. And then we added stroke and neurodegenerative diseases, but we also have a lot of stakeholders who are engaged in care and rehab for people who have cancer or other chronic conditions, anything that impacts somebody's ability to fully function in their lives. So they kind of fit very nicely together for me because it's what it's all about.
It is, so it really focuses on rehab medicine, but there's a lot of technology within that rehab medicine,
yes,
right?
There is.
And how have you seen that grown over the years?
Holy moly. It has grown. So when I started as a PT, I was like hardly any kind of rehab technology. It was basic e-stim units or what have you. And the earliest thing that I remember working with was the RGOs, the kind of really basic orthotics. They're these big bulky orthotics that people wanted to wear to be able to walk.
There was nothing when you were a PT, when you first started in PT.
Now all of a sudden there's technology for everything. It's not been the kind of thing where it's been equitable in a way. Technology is developed as you would expect. People focused on walking, all the technologies for walking. And there's been more recently the boom in upper extremity kinds of devices, really realizing that everybody has different needs. Recovery and quality of life means different things to different people. So I've seen the field kind of evolving around that to address the needs of the stakeholders. It's still driven very much by the technology developers instead of by the people that we're serving. So hopefully we'll get better at that. But definitely there's lots of opportunities to figure out how to use technology to do a better job in our rehab.
So have you seen a lot of the technology being developed and then they look for a problem rather than technology trying to solve a problem from the ground up?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I do think that it often starts from solving a problem, but not always in the best way, right? So I think, people identify the need for mobility, after a spinal cord injury or with a stroke or brain injury. And so they started to look for ways to help. So they understood the problem, but they didn't necessarily understand the best way to address it. And even now, I think there's people developing technologies that may not be the most realistic.
Sorry, is that a question of technology, like a lack of technology, or that they're approaching it from the wrong, they're chemists and they want to do a chemical intervention versus, mechanical one would actually be best, something like that?
I think that it's the same issue as in both, is that they haven't considered what it means to actually implement that whether it be pharmaceutical kind of approach or a technology device kind of approach is not what it means at the end. I am evaluating the effectiveness of FES cycles, for instance, and they're far less expensive than the exoskeletons or the body weight supported treadmill systems, but still they're expensive. They can be $25,000, for a system. And they question even doing that research, because what's the value of doing research when people can't get those devices? And in my mind, there's a huge value, because if we can show using that technology that there's a benefit to it, then maybe we can develop more affordable options for other people. So I'm not totally opposed with the way it's happening, but still, when people are developing the technologies, they go for the gold, and they don't always consider that it might not be usable. Am I making sense? Does that make sense? That it might not ultimately be usable by people. I think the jury's still out on things like exoskeletons, They cost so much, and I think that heart was in the right place, but what it's really going to mean to the field, I think the jury is out. And I know for a fact that the stakeholders weren't always involved in those conversations.
They were, but I guess my view on exoskeletons is I think of it as the stage of when we first came out with computers. We had them in a whole room, and we couldn't imagine people having a computer on their desk. Or even imagine having.
It's our imagination of the future. This is what it's going to be like.
Right. So I think
that
I view the exoskeletons today as that big computer in a room. They're big. They're still managing robotics. They're still trying to figure out the actuators, and they're trying to figure out the business model around them. But think about what we might be in the next 10 to 15 years. We might have something that you can just slip on underneath your clothing.
I agree. That's why I said the jury is still out, but those are conversations that need to be had when we're putting together these kinds of things.
How much is an exoskeleton actually?
Oh, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
They're running around $75,000, I think, is the latest price in U.S.
Wow.
Oh, I thought there were more than that.
That's what I think that's what the latest prices that I've been able to see.
I heard higher.
But I think exoskeletons, we place them in two different areas. Either we place them in an area where they can be therapeutic and they can actually help in therapy, but they can also be a prosthetic to help for movement. So they can be in two different places.
Right. But I think about the same thing for FES bikes is, yes, they are expensive. I think we just haven't found the right model of delivery of using them. Because to me, this sounds so naive, but I think they should be in every gym. Honestly, if you can put the electrodes on yourself, you should be allowed to go into a gym that's accessible in your community and use the bike once you've been evaluated.
Or better yet, what if we make the electrodes so that you can use a bike at home? Well, a true mobile bike.
Yes.
I'm not talking a stationary bike. I'm talking hopping on a cat trike and put the electrodes on and be able to go out.
But then you have to do it every day. I don't like to go to the gym every day. I go, twice a week. and the fact that, you're only using it 1% or 2% of the time of the week, other people can be using it. It's kind of this autonomous car, this Uberification. I don't know. I actually do like this gym membership. We're talking a lot about memberships a lot. Gym memberships.
Or the flexibility. So I think people in rehab and in research make the mistake of thinking, well, this person has a disability and exercise will help them be better, so why are they not doing it? When, in fact, the majority of people who don't face any barriers to exercise are not exercising at the level that they're supposed to be, right? So I think we just have to change our way of thinking and just realize we need to give them the same flexibility that somebody who can walk into any gym and work out without any barriers. We need to offer the same flexibility to everybody, and technology can do that for us.
And you can get more expensive systems. The gym has more expensive equipment than I would have at home.
Right.
And other people can use it. But yeah, maybe not to the level of a doctor where it's really expensive to do it, but literally the level of a gym where it's hey, $30 a month or whatever, and you can come in. And I don't know. I mean, or have a few different things.
Why doesn't Life Fitness have an FES bike? That they could.
That could be a really good pitch.
Yeah. So as we go ahead and wrap this up real quick, Debbie, we want to ask you one other question.
Oh, sure.
So this is the first time that ACRM has been involved with Rehab Week.
I know.
And so what's your impression that you see?
I see so many opportunities, and I mean it sincerely. If there was a way I could do it and get this group to come to Chicago and continue our conversations, I would, I think that it's a wonderful opportunity, and I don't know what it's going to mean yet, because it's the first time we've done it, but I do think that there's a lot of similarities in the organizations. Certainly the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary it's just like the best forum. So I'm hoping that will continue in some way with the collaboration moving forward.
Great.
Hope you enjoyed the show and were able to learn something new, bringing together different fields in novel ways. Until next time on the Neural Implant Podcast.